A deck's game plan is what gives it its identity. If a deck is meant to blow up lands, it will be known for that. If it presents a 2-card combo for the win, you can be sure it'll be called a combo deck. If the deck resets everyone's hands with a card that punishes draws, people will remember. Regardless of what your theme is, what matters is how it's executed. Just as likely as it is for a deck to perform well and be remembered for the scary ways in which it wins, a deck can also be remembered for being lackluster and not having much of an impact. Ultimately, we all want our decks to perform in some way, which is why we build them and decide to play with them. Monolith decks, card quality, and commander choice are some of the biggest downfalls I tend to find, and for this video I'll be using my $25 Atris deck to showcase some of the solutions. One of the biggest issues I find with most decks is that if you subtract the commander from the deck, there is no more threat, hence making it a monolith deck. The deck can't do anything other than fire off a random draw spell or removal spell, and it can't contribute meaningfully to the rest of the game. That's why this deck was built with the commander as a mere afterthought. The deck is inspired by a Jujutsu Kaisen character who puts you in a situation where you must either play around his ability and hold yourself back, or ignore it and get punished. And so I made the theme of the deck reflect that with theft and board wipe effects. By making my win condition and game plan separate from the direction of the commander, it allows me to enact either side without fear of getting blown out by losing a key piece. Let's imagine I built this as a blink deck. After all, EDH Rec shows it's one of the most popular themes for the commander. If my opponent sets up Drannith Magistrate before I get my commander out, I'm locked out of not only my commander, but also the main threat from the rest of my deck. Instead of being able to spend my removal spell to win tempo, I have to spend it catching up so I can unlock my deck's ability to win. Whereas if we return to this example with my current deck, I don't care if you shut off my commander since it wasn't the main game plan to begin with, allowing me to break parity without using a card in game, but instead deck building from before the game. Card quality tends to come from running cards that fit your theme or your synergy, but aren't flexible or compact enough to land you that savory win. While we all know that Doomblade is a reasonable magic card, we also tend to favor things that give us more efficiency or options, like Lethal Scheme or Tragic Slip. However, when you're on a budget, there's only so many options you can run before your deck starts to hit that quota, which is why rather than optimizing for decreased mana requirements, I instead leaned into the increased value side. Rather than paying less mana than Lethal Scheme, why not pay more mana, but rather than just removing the troubling permanent, also get to artificially cast one of your own? My cards aren't just removal, as they are also threats, allowing them to overlap and serve multiple purposes. We all know that MDFCs are good because they can be lands or spells, so why not have our spells be multi-purpose as well? The more tags we can fit our cards into, the better they fit into our decks, and the better they fit into your hand. Lastly is commander choice. While I could have ran an obvious commander like Gonti or Admiral Beckett Brass, and built more into the theft theme, Atris actually works better for this deck, and here's why. Once I cast Atris, all of the value is on her enter the battlefield, giving me cards in hand to enhance my further strategy. Afterwards, I can play a card like Ledger Domain, which will exchange control of my commander with my opponent's best thing. I can run my deck without my commander, but the same isn't true for all decks. So after taking their commander, they can either try to play their deck without it, or expend resources to get it off the board, then expend even more to try and recast it again. What's great is, even if I don't want their commander, I can just swap it out with another opponent's commander and make them both scramble as I just shut down their game plans with a single card. Either they don't play their big threats and have them get stolen, but slow themselves down to a grinding halt, or they play right into it and get punished by not only losing their big thing, but now having to deal with it themselves. All of this is to say, if you want to build a stronger deck, it might be valuable to consider what your gameplay loop looks like and how easily the entire game plan can get shut down. And that starts with a namesake of the format, your commander. If you think someone you know may benefit from this video, consider sharing it with them so we can all become better deck builders together. This has been Togo's Rock. and I am out.